Scott Francis O Grady is a former United States Air Force fighter pilot. On June 2, 1995, he was shot down over Bosnia by an SR-6 mobile SAM launcher and forced to eject from his F-16C into hostile territory. After nearly a week of evading the Serbs, he was eventually rescued by Marines. Previously, he took part in the Banja Luka incident where he fired upon 6 enemy aircraft. The 2001 film Behind Enemy Lines is loosely based upon his experiences. In September 2011, O'Grady announced a run for the 2012 Republican nomination for Texas State Senate District 8, held at the time by the retiring Republican Florence Shapiro, but he later suspended his campaign because of uncertainties over the Texas redistricting fight. Career. NATO. Operation Deny Flight. The Bosnian War was an international armed conflict that took place in Bosnia and Herzegovina between April 1992 and December 1995. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, after popular pressure, had decided to intervene in the Bosnian War after allegations of war crimes against civilians were made by various media organizations. NATO military involvement primarily involved enforcement of a no-fly zone, code-named Operation Deny Flight, to discourage military aircraft of the Bosnian Serb armed forces from attacking Bosnian civilians and Bosniak and Croat forces. As part of that operation, 2 F-16s from the 555th Fighter Squadron based at Aviano Air Base, Italy, were patrolling the skies above Bosnia on June 2, 1995. Shoot-down. On the ground, a Bosnian Serb Army 2K-12 Cub surface-to-air missile battery near Markonichgrad was readying to fire its missiles on NATO aircraft. The Serbs had moved the mobile tracked missile battery and laid a trap. They switched on the missile radars sparingly, giving F-16 fighters little warning. Waiting until a plane was directly overhead, where the aircraft's warning and countermeasures would be at the weakest, they fired 2 missiles. In the cockpit, O'Grady's instruments alerted him that a missile was coming, but, because he was flying through an overcast, he could not see it. The first missile exploded between the 2 aircraft. The second struck the F-16 piloted by O'Grady. His wingman, Captain Bob Wright, saw O'Grady's plane burst into flames and break in two. Wright did not see a parachute, but O'Grady survived by ejecting from the aircraft. O'Grady landed among a Bosnian Serb population he assumed to be unfriendly, and within a minute, he secured a 29-pound survival bag from under his seat, ran, and hid. Rubbing dirt on his face, he hid face down as Bosnian Serb forces came upon his parachute and ejection seat, at one point hitting the ground with the rifles only feet from where he was hidden in an effort to flush him out. During the next 6 days, he put to use the lessons learned during a 17-day survival, evasion, resistance and escape training session he had undertaken near his hometown of Spokane, Washington. He ate leaves, grass, and bugs, and stored the little rainwater he could collect with a sponge in plastic bags. O'Grady delayed radioing for help, as the U.S. Air Force had taught him that downed pilots are often captured after calling for help too soon, giving away the position. On his 4th full day on the ground, he signaled his location using his radio's limited battery power. NATO planes conducting sorties in the Balkans had been picking up beeper snippets that they thought could be coming from O'Grady. This extremely sensitive information was inadvertently revealed by General Ronald Fogelman, the Air Force Chief of Staff, when the general told reporters attending a promotion ceremony that monitors had detected intermittent transmissions. A NATO official was quoted as saying, "I was dumbfounded he said that. I mean, why not just announce to the bad guys, we think he's alive and kicking, and we hope we find him before you do. Rescue just after midnight on June 8, he spoke into the radio. An F-16 pilot from the 555th responded and, after confirming his identity, the rescue was set in motion. At 4:40, Admiral Leighton Smith, commander of NATO's Southern Forces, called U.S. Marine Colonel Martin Burnt aboard the Uskursesh with orders to execute two CH-53C Stallions with 51 Marines from the 3rd Battalion 8th Marines within the 24th Marine Expeditionary Unit, lifted off the Uskursesh to rescue the pilot. The two helicopters were accompanied by two Marine AH-1W Super Cobra helicopter gunships and a pair of Marine AV-8B Harrier jump jets. These 6 aircraft had support from identical sets of replacement helicopters and jump jets, as well as 2 Navy EA-6B Prowler electronic warfare planes, 2 Air Force F-111A Raven electronic warfare planes, 2 Marine FA-18D Hornets, a pair of anti-tank Air Force A-10 Warthogs, and a NATO AWACS radar plane. At 6:35 a.m., the helicopters approached the area where O'Grady's signal beacon had been traced. The pilots saw bright yellow smoke coming from trees near a rocky pasture where O'Grady had set off a flare. The first Stallion, commanded by Major William Tarbutton, touched down and 20 Marines jumped off the aircraft and set up a defensive perimeter. As the second Sea Stallion landed, a figure with a pistol who turned out to be the missing pilot appeared running towards the Marines and immediately went to the Sea Stallion. As the side door opened, he was pulled in before the second 20 Marines poised to leave by the rear ramp could even move. They were called back to the seats, and those who had formed the defensive perimeter reboarded the other helicopter. After a quick head count, the Stallions took off. They had been on the ground no more than 7 minutes. Returned the Marines, with O'Grady, flew low over Serb-held Bosnia. However, American aircraft detected a Serb missile radar along the Croatian coast, scanning for targets. An American plane recommended destroying the Serb radar, code-named Giraffe. The request was denied, partly out of concern that a strike could spark wider conflict. Minutes later, the Marines reported they were under fire. 2 shoulder-held surface-to-air missiles had been launched at them but missed, as the helicopter pilots, flying 150 feet off the ground at 175 miles per hour, jinked to evade them. Serb small arms pucked both helicopters. The Marines aboard heard the bullets hit inside the fuselage. One door gunner returned fire. 1 round hits the communication gear in the chopper and the bullet ended up against Master Sergeant Angel Castro Jr.'s armor without injuring anyone. At 7:15 a.m. a local time, 30 minutes after picking up O'Grady, the rescuers reported feet wet, meaning they were over water. O'Grady was back aboard the Uskursesh at 7:30. All of the aircraft landed without further incident. Aftermath: on August 11, 1995, a USAF RQ-1 Predator UAV was shot down by Serb forces in the same area. The Serbs recovered the wreckage and handed it over to Russia for technical evaluation. On August 30, NATO launched Operation Deliberate Force, a massive airstrike campaign which eventually lifted the siege of Sarajevo and led to the end of the war in Bosnia. Personal life: O'Grady was born in Brooklyn, New York City, New York, as son of William P. O'Grady and Mary Lou Scott Payne, and graduated from Lewis and Clark High School in Spokane, Washington. He is a former cadet in the Civil Air Patrol and a 1989 Air Force ROTC graduate from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University's campus in Prescott, Arizona. 3 years after his rescue, O'Grady transferred from active duty in the regular U.S. Air Force to the Air Force Reserve, where he continued to fly the F-16. In May 2007, he completed a master's degree in biblical studies at Dallas Theological Seminary in Dallas, Texas. He resides in Frisco in Collin County, Texas. O'Grady is an active Republican, having spoken at the 1996 Republican Convention in support of Bob Dole. In 2004, O'Grady, supporting George W. Bush for re-election, accused Bush's opponent John Kerry of treason for actions taken during the Vietnam War. O'Grady endorsed Brian Birdwell in his successful 2010 bid for the Texas State Senate, then launched his own candidacy for the Texas State House in September 2011, seeking the 2012 Republican nomination in Senate District 8 following the retirement of Sen. Florence Shapiro. O'Grady dropped out of the race in early 2012, claiming Shapiro had reneged on a promise to support him in the Republican primary, while his opponent had numerous endorsements. In popular culture, the shoot-down incident was depicted and described on the documentary television program Situation Critical in episode No. 5, Downed Pilot. This has been shown on the National Geographic Channel. It was also covered in Escape from Bosnia, the Scott O Grady story on the History Channel. BBC also made a documentary, titled Missing in Action, that was later purchased by 20th Century Fox and Discovery Communications. The 2001 film Behind Enemy Lines, starring Gene Hackman and Owen Wilson, is loosely based on this event. Although O'Grady had given the film a positive rating on the film review television show Hot or Not, O'Grady took offense at the portrayal of his character in Behind Enemy Lines as a pilot who disobeys orders and swears. O'Grady sued 20th Century Fox in 2002 for making the film without his permission. He also took action over the documentary, Behind Enemy Lines, the Scott O Grady story, which was a re-edited version of a BBC documentary which Discovery Communications, parent company of the Discovery Channel, had purchased and edited. The documentary was broadcast several times on the Discovery Channel, and O'Grady accused Fox of using it to promote the film. Both suits were settled in 2004. Fox made a confidential settlement with O'Grady, while a Texas court ruled against O'Grady and in favor of Discovery Communications. The judge's ruling stated, in effect, that the events in a person's life are not the same thing as that person's likeness or image. O'Grady co-wrote 2 books, collaborating on one with Michael French, that detailed his experiences of being shot down over Bosnia and his eventual rescue. Banja 5-2. The True Story of F-16 Fighter Pilot Captain Scott O Grady. He later wrote a book concerning the spiritual effects from his experience in Return with Honor with Jeff Copeland. Another book has also been written, this one, Good to Go. The Rescue of Captain Scott O Grady, USAF, from Bosnia, was written by Mary Pat Kelly. Bibliography. O'Grady, Scott, Copeland, Jeff. Return with Honor, New York. Doubleday. ISBN 0-385-483-309. O'Grady, Scott, French, Michael. Banja 5-2. The True Story of F-16 Fighter Pilot Captain Scott O Grady, New York. Doubleday. ISBN 0-385-32300X. Kelly, Mary Pat. Good to Go. The Rescue of Captain Scott O Grady, USAF, from Bosnia. Annapolis, MD. Naval Institute Press. ISBN 1-55750-4598.